Cat and Moose podcast. I'm Cat.
And I'm Moose. This is a true life podcast where we explore the quirks of being human.
Got it.
What's going on with you?
Had the music in my heart.
I've got music in my heart too. What music do you have in your heart, producer Sarah?
Just some a little bit of this. Da 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 da.
Just a lot of drums?
Just some jazz, smooth jazz.
It didn't sound very smooth to me.
Da 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 da. Do do.
When I think of smooth jazz, I think of
Like you're just like I'm picturing you at like a winery with just like a stand-up bassist. Wow.
I mean, we're a jazz trio.
We really are.
We're so talented.
If you guys need me to run and get my clarinet, I can.
That'd be amazing.
Oh my God. Hey, Kat.
Hey, Moose.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey guys.
Things feel heavy in the world.
They do feel heavy in the world. Why won't it go away?
Okay, let's get it all out in the open. So you have the Afghanistan situation with the Taliban. We've got the Haiti earthquake.
COVID,
Cuba. There's a hurricane that's about to hit Long Island.
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to bring that up?
Am I going to bring that up?
Sarah, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I didn't know if I should.
No, go ahead, because it's freaking annoying.
Like, okay, so we kind of have the news on a lot of the time at this house, this residence. And most of the time it's just the same four things. They're recycling, you know?
Yeah.
And one of those things has been the promotion of this massive concert that starts at 5 p.m. Eastern in Times Square?
Yeah.
And there's
No. It's Central Park.
Central Park. Gotcha. And there's like 5,000 amazing artists performing. There's just like the who's who of everyone, including all of the oldest musicians in our market, like the remaining living ones. Anyway, all of these people are coming and they keep promoting this concert that's happening today.
As they're showing all of these families in Afghanistan trying to flee. So it's like all these pictures, you know, of like families desperately trying to get out of Kabul. And then at the bottom, it's got a countdown.
Like, don't forget.
And 5 hours live concert with Babyface, Wyclef Jean, and whoever else, you know.
And the only thing I could think, like, I'm upset about that. I'm upset about the fact that COVID is running rampant again. And like the only saving grace is that perhaps this show is just live stream and there's not going to be a shit ton of people in Central Park. But I don't know. It just seems so strange. And kind of the point is it just feels not very classy to be promoting that amidst all of the turmoil we've got right now.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like news to me. Like that feels like entertainment news. Like there's a 15-minute segment for that you tune in when you want to hear like the latest about what's going on TMZ or whatever, you know, but like in the middle of like global crisis news to be like, hey, everybody, there's a show, like that feels really tone deaf to me.
It is. Okay, so we talked about all the hard things in the world. Is there anything else we want to list?
Oh my gosh, there's so many hard things in the world and we can't possibly list them all. And I do find it kind of funny that you're asking me to update you on current events. It's just not real normal in our relationship.
No, I'm not saying update me. I'm just saying like sometimes we just need to recognize that this was a hard week for me, you know, like not like boohoo, falling apart, hard week. I just felt very distracted by all that's happening in the world outside of like my day-to-day work. And I'm just noticing that I'm not looking for reasons or ways to fix it. I'm just really noticing that it's important to recognize all of that affects us, you know?
Yeah, it really does. I was in a session with my bodywork therapist this week, and I was telling her about this situation that like really pissed me off. And she was like, she's like, yeah, it sounds like you've got some anger around that. And I said, yeah, I do. And she was like, would you like to consider, trying to move that energy? And I was like, sure, like whatever, like I'm happy to. And she was like, will you go outside? And I was like, yes, like I'll totally go outside. So we went out back at the new place where I do my therapy stuff. And we went out back and we kind of got comfortable, like standing in the grass, and we were kind of facing each other, but like, probably like 20 feet apart. And so we did the Pal Dan Goom thing, the punching with angry eyes, which we've talked about that before. So that was awesome. And then
did you do it facing each other?
We did, but we stood like not exactly facing each other. So we weren't like darting our anger at each other. It was more like just being aware of what each other was doing. Yeah. And then the next thing she said, she goes, okay, I'm going to also teach you to do something that my music teacher taught me. And she goes, and you probably know this because you're a music person. And I had no idea what we're going to do. And she was like holding her hands out like she was holding like the flesh colored basketball. And she was like, you kind of pretend like you're holding a basketball. And she said, and you hold it down by your feet and you throw it up and you go, hey. And so we did that like multiple times. We like grabbed the invisible basketball down by our feet and rose it all the way up over our heads and went, hey, like as loud as we could do. And it felt amazing.
You should try doing that with an actual weighted ball.
Oh, yeah.
That would give you even double the
anger,
productivity, the anger too.
The goal is to get unpissed off, not more pissed off.
I have to tell you, obviously for those of you who are Enneagram, that would be obvious. I love anything that I can project energetically out of me. That sounded like I'm trying to hint at something. Yeah, let me start over. I like the idea of yelling when I am angry, and it's I don't want to yell like just straight up scream because that's like painful and agonizing. But what you're talking about, like I remember being a kid and my mom enrolled my sister and I in Taekwondo. Oh, and I freaking loved it because it was all about like what you're doing, like the energy in and out and recognizing your strength and holding your own space and all the things that you hope a kid will learn. Mm-hmm. It was really cool because I remember just getting to go like, yeah, and like, I don't know, it felt good.
It feels amazing. Like it feels so amazing. And apparently like the universal human sound for expelling anger sounds a little bit like this. Bah!
Do it again.
Bah!
So, like, if you were to spell it, would it be MOOBA?
It would be like bah.
No, but letters.
Maybe a little M, and then a big BAAAH. Bah!
Oh. Bah! Everyone in your cars or taking walks listening to us. Jen, I know that you like to print out your Billboard charts while you're listening on Mondays. So take a breath, and I need you to go, bah! Sarah, give it to us.
Bah!
That sounded more like you had to go to the bathroom.
That sounds to me like that game that you used to play with your staff moose, where you guys would call, what was it, either taking a dump, having sex, or stretching?
It's sex. We've added to it. So it's sex, shit, or stretch.
Sex, shit, or stretch. So what is this sound that I'm making?
Oh, I think that is shit.
Yeah, it feels like expelling something. That's perfect.
But if you wanted it to be a stretch, it would be yeah.
And then what would it be if it was sex?
Get off me.
That is something else.
Oh.
Get off me. I love that you tell it like it is, Moose. Thank you for that.
Okay, so I was reading on one of my favorite Instagram pages, Peaceful Mind, Peaceful Life. Barb is the woman who puts that together. She posted this little list of things that are triggers for empaths. And I definitely think I'm an empath. I think sometimes when we talk about Enneagram, we often go, oh, if you're an empath, you must be like a 2 or 4 or, you know, that sort of thing. But I think any type on the Enneagram and really any personality can be an empath. And so this just struck me because it felt so real. So I wanted to read this list. And I'm curious if you resonate with any of these.
Okay.
So triggers for empaths. Crowds. You're nodding.
Yeah. Oh, am I supposed to like respond after each one? Okay.
Well, we can do it however we want. Clearly, that's not what we're doing.
So when you say a trigger for an empath, do you mean like an emotional trigger, like something that triggers us to be empathetic, or something that is hard for us?
Something that's hard for us.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
it's not a trigger to create empathy. It's really those of us who consider ourselves empaths, these things. And I will list them all so we don't have crickets like that last.
I'm sorry about that.
This is what I saw from you. Only patrons will appreciate this. It was almost a nod, but not quite a nod. Okay. Here are triggers for those of us who consider ourselves empaths. Crowds, fake conversations, feeling rushed. That's huge for me. Arguments, like if an argument is happening around you.
Yeah.
Loud noises and inauthentic people.
I resonate with all of those, including loud noises, except for loud music.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Because I love me some loud music. Like, I love my Sonos speakers all over my house at, like, top decibel. Like, it makes me really happy to listen to loud music. But, man, all those other things, like inauthentic behavior, crowds, people arguing around me. What were a couple of the others again?
Feeling rushed.
I hate when I feel rushed. Oh, my gosh, it's my least favorite.
Mine, too. It's funny because the loud noises, all of these resonate with me too. And actually, when I see posts like this, like I feel like it gives me the opportunity to like an excuse to cancel things. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, you're right. I am an empath. I better clear my schedule.
Yeah.
Because it's one more thing on the list of things I need to study about myself and give myself self-love around.
I love it. And let me ask you, just out of curiosity, are you reading your horoscope these days?
No. Why? Is something going on with the Libras?
Well, no, not that I'm aware of. Somebody told me that the outer planets, including, if you believe Pluto is a planet, I believe it includes Pluto, I guess are in retrograde right now. And apparently that really signifies a season change. And something about what you were saying about being an empath and clearing schedules just made me think of like a season change. And I'm realizing as I'm saying it out loud that this is no sort of transition into any new subject at all. I don't really know what I was trying to do there.
Well, why are you saying that last part? Because I have a perfect thing to transition into.
Okay, well, I think I was saying it because I wanted to go back to the expressing anger thing and talk about what my horoscope said about it. I think that's why I brought it up.
Okay, well, I can share about seasons changing if you'll share about your horoscope.
Okay, sounds good. Go for it.
And I would prefer to call it a horoscope.
A horoscope? Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, you first.
Okay, well, what I was going to say is I found it really interesting that I did that whole exercise with my practitioner and we went, hey, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And when I read my horoscope, it said you would be wise today to find a physical expression for this energy lest it creates tempestuous moods.
Oh. You are quite the tempest.
Well, I was like, am I a temptress? What does tempestuous mean?
I'm pretty sure it means you're a giant flirt.
I think it means I'm a giant temple. I don't know. Tempestuous.
A person could be described as tempestuous if they are prone to violent mood swings and fits of passion. If you describe a relationship or a situation as tempestuous, you mean that very strong and intense emotions, especially anger, are involved.
It's you are a temptress. You actually can sew things like a seamstress, but you also you have like all those jewels. Like you're naked except for a loincloth. And then you've got like these jewels that connect from your ears down to your nipples and then down to your belly button that connects to your loincloth. And you're sort of doing luau moves. That's what temptress.
That's what tempestuous means to you.
Yeah. You don't need to look it up.
Yeah, we don't need to look it up. I look like Jane Child. Do you remember the artist Jane Child?
No, I do know the artist, but I can't remember what she looks like.
Well, she just had all these chains, like from her nose to her ears and her ears to her nipples and nipples to the loincloth and all of that. I just remember it being such a look back then.
Speaking of songs from back then, do you remember? Okay, not do you. I remember the moment when I saw Sinead OConnor, Nothing Compares to You on MTV, the video.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a kid's house down the street because my mom pulled the cable out of the wall because she saw me watching Madonna's Like a Prayer. So we didn't have cable. I don't even think they tried to plug it in. It would work based on the damage my mom created. But I'm at this friend's house. Nothing Compares to You comes on. And remember, MTV back then was actual music videos.
I loved it. Yes, I watched it all the time.
Yeah, so you would actually just watch music videos, which is amazing. Let's get back to that again.
I know, that'd be so nice.
And I just stood there in complete awe that this 20-something, maybe 30s, I don't remember, woman had shaved her head and was singing the song. I was just completely enthralled by everything I was seeing.
Yeah, and it's such a captivating video because it's such a close-up of her face, and it looks like, I'd have to go back and watch it. I haven't seen it in years, but if I remember right, it's not really edited, is it? Is it just like a one-take performance?
I don't remember. That would be really ahead of its time if it was a one-take.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Which seems like it would be behind the times because before you could edit, maybe that's how you did it.
Yeah. Very true. Well, the video that I remember, it's not going to be shocking to you or anyone else. I remember the world premiere of Wilson Phillips' Hold On.
Oh, yeah.
And because I knew the song and I was like, okay, this song is amazing. And right when I learned about the song, I saw on MTV that they were going to world premiere the video. And I remember thinking like, I must be best friends with these women. Like these people embody everything that I think is amazing.
Yeah. I felt the same way. I remember being so surprised in my adult years, finding out how many people were also fans of Wilson Phillips.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought it was like my secret group that, I'd seen them on TV a few times, but I didn't realize how popular they were.
Oh man, I did, because I just was totally obsessed with them. And what I was thinking about the other day when our friend Chris sent me that article out of Vanity Fair that had the house that their music video Release Me was filmed in, I was thinking about that and I was like, I remember because I religiously listened to Casey's Top 40 that Release Me only made it to number 2 on the charts, and Impulsive, their third single, only made it to number 3 on the charts. So the only number 1 single they ever had was Hold On, and they sold over 10 million records worldwide. Isn't that insane?
That it's so surprising sometimes what hits number 1 and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Did you decide at that point, I'm going to work records and get those songs to number 1?
Well, I did decide at that point that that's when I wanted to work in the music industry, but I wasn't educated enough to know that there was like a person who did that, who does like basically what you and your company do now.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. So I highly recommend you get into the field. Every single week you have a report card, and if you don't live up to it, lots of people aren't happy.
Yeah.
Come on over. Let us recruit you.
It does not sound like fun at all.
No. Okay, you told me about the TV show called The White Lotus. That's on HBO Max.
Yep.
And I watched the whole thing, and I feel like I need to debrief it in order to expel some energy.
Okay, tell me what was your experience with White Lotus?
Well, first of all, I love Connie Britton.
Me too.
Like, she's one of my favorite actresses. You know I love a redhead. But the guy who played Shane, he was like the newly married guy in there. His name is Jake Lacey. But in the show, Shane Patton, I just hate him.
Oh,
like, he embodies
everything
I've ever hated about like a fraternity boy.
Yes. I mean, he is like the quintessential D-bag.
Totally. I feel like our listeners need to be with us right now. Has anyone else watched The White Lotus? And if not, I need you to go watch it. I'm going to tell you right now, do not let your children be in the room when you watch it.
Right.
Because there's a very surprising scene somewhere in there that I'll never be able to get out of my mind.
I was going to say, it's something that you can't unsee. And it's right, like, kind of at the front. Is it the very first episode?
No. I think they lean you in a little bit. I think it's like the third, though. It's pretty... There's only 6 episodes.
It's when the dad has the enlarged body part, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh.
Because that shocked me.
No, but that is shocking. No, I'm talking about when Armand falls off the wagon.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's horrible. That's practically pornography. It's disturbing. It's just disturbing.
It is disturbing. I'm sorry, but it's disturbing. But beyond that, I think it is one of the most creative shows. And I love this idea of the location being one place for the majority of the event. And everyone is experiencing their own, everyone's on vacation. And it's 1 week of their lives and all the craziness that unfolds. And I mean, I just, for the first time, had all these emotions around each of these characters where I was like, you're freaking awesome. You're hilarious. Like, even the teenage daughter, Connie Britton's daughter, like, I just wanted to smack her upside the head like 300 times. I couldn't
stand her. Like, her and the dude that you were just talking about, like, I can feel it in my body, the disdain I have for those characters. Like, I cannot stand those kinds of people. And I didn't see it from the perspective that you just said until now, that it was like the exact same time and place, and it was just from every single character's perspective. And so everybody had such a markedly different experience. And I tell you what, like, the one part where Connie Britton, who, let's just stop for a second and talk about, like, I was telling someone the other day that to me, Connie Britton is in the same class of actresses like a Sandra Bullock or a Diane Keaton, or it's like a Glenn Close, like absolute top of the line, amazing
Meryl
actress.
Streep.
Yes, Meryl Streep. Yes, I mean, absolutely wonderful. So I got so tickled when she got on that Zoom call. Do you remember that part?
Oh, yes. Yes. I do remember that part.
We're howling, laughing.
Yes. I totally forgot. She's so believable to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I never question, like, she's acting.
No.
She just feels believable.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just so, I mean, Sarah talks about this all the time in our podcast and in real life, how interesting it is to recognize that there are different perspectives to every situation. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And it always annoys the crap out of me. But that was a TV show where I was like, this is exactly it. Like, you could have the same experience as somebody else. And because of, and some of this is part of the show, because of your, maybe favor that happens to you, or even having some sort of white privilege, you respond completely differently than someone that, you know, hasn't had those same experiences. So you know, from like a human behavior standpoint, I just like fell in love with that show.
Yeah, I fell in love with that show too. And I got really tickled by the one lady who becomes obsessed with her massage therapist.
Oh, okay. That's the reason I started watching it, is you told me about that. And she is my absolute favorite character.
Me
if those
too.
of you who know Jennifer Coolidge.
Amazing.
Just so good. But you know how at the end of each episode, it's I don't know if you watched them, but I only watched it on the very last one. It broke down the episode from the director's standpoint and what they were trying to convey. And to see her talk normally was so interesting to me, to watch her 6 episodes where she's basically drunk the whole time.
Right.
Oh, and the part where she lets down the massage therapist, I just want to shake her.
Oh my gosh. Like, I was so sad. Like, I was so sad. Oh my gosh. I was so sad.
Oh, and to just to recognize again, like, this wasn't about money. This was about partnership and relationship and
human connection. And,
look, guys, we don't talk about TV, but this show, The White Lotus, outside of those 2 scenes we mentioned before, is a great, great show.
Both of which you can't unsee. So sorry about that in advance. And the rest of it is worth it, in our opinions.
Stop right now what you're doing. If you're driving, pull over. And we want you to pull out your phone and type in this number and send us a text. So open your messages. If you're on Android, I don't know what you do. Type in some sort of code. Who knows?
Beam me up, Scotty.
All right. So get out your phone and text 1-866-528-6665. That's 1-866-528-6665. That is our phone number. You can call us. Don't worry, we don't answer. Leave a message. Or you can text us and we'll get it immediately. But we would love for you to save that number in your phone. So when you're listening, you can just pull up Cat and Moose Hotline and send us a text.
And you can send us a text about anything. And you can text us about things you want to talk to us about. You can text us and tell us how ridiculous we are. Really anything you want to. We love hearing from you.
That's 1-866-528-THE-DEVIL-5.
That's amazing. Okay, so if you're going to call us, text us, put our contact info in your phone. Cat and Moose Podcast. The number is 1-866-528-6665.
The number is 1-866-528, the devil's favorite number, 5.
So you said, I noticed you did something a second ago, and I want to ask you about it. You said you started to say, do you, like asking me a question, and then you said, no, I. And you talked about yourself and your own experience. What happened there?
Well, I think sometimes, especially because we're human, we can ask someone, have you experienced this, in hopes that they have for connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm learning that I share my experience first and then let people respond however it's appropriate for them.
That's really sensitive of you. I like that. I've noticed that I do something similar, and that's why I guess it really stood out to me. And I did this the other day with my therapist. I did the same thing. I said, have you ever blah, 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 whatever the thing was. I don't even remember what it was. And she just kind of looked at me, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, your experience is way different than mine when it comes to this subject. And she just kind of shook her head, and I was like, so I'm going to talk about my experience. And she just like shook her head again. And I was like, why was that so important? And it really is. Like, I think it's really, really, maybe insensitive, unkind, narcissistic. I don't know what the word is, to immediately put your experience on someone else in order to establish if you can relate with them or not.
Well, I think it's a false way to create connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I had a friend who is no longer my friend who used to do that all the time. She would be like, so, and she would almost like repeat her experience, like, and say it to me. And I would find myself trying to find something in her experience I could connect with, because I could tell that's what she wanted from me. but it always felt a little bit like manipulation in some way of like, I think we're falsely creating something here that's not there. So yeah, I caught myself because I don't want to overlay my experience on anyone else's.
And I think also to be able to say, like, I had this experience. Have you had an experience where you felt similarly that we could connect on? I mean, that sounds so dorky. Like, who like actually talks that way? I guess I would never say that to someone.
But you could say, have you ever felt like that? You know? And then that would give like an open-ended way to respond instead of feeling like, oh God, I've never exactly felt that, you know, because it could also make someone feel like they were on the outside too.
Totally. And I definitely don't want to do that. We empaths, we don't want people to feel unincluded or on the outside. No. So you mentioned a second ago that you were going to talk about seasons changing if I were to talk about my horoscope, and you never brought up seasons changing. What's that all about?
Oh, well, you know, I was thinking earlier, am I going to actually talk about this? And I was like, hell yeah, I am. Like, I'm an extremely private person until I have a podcast, and then I just share it on the pod. Like, basically, Megan, one of my best friends, you're of course the other. She always says, like, I basically have to listen to the podcast to find out what's going on with you. And I'm like, that's fair. I mean, like, I'm an 8, so I'm not the person that's like, you know, setting aside an hour to talk to somebody outside my therapist. That happens.
Yeah, I don't really do that either. So I'm sorry, Megan, that's how you have to hear about your best friend. And I can also say, as a co-best friend with Moose, I'm the same way. Like, sometimes the only time, Moose, that you and I get to talk during the week is on our podcast. And it's like, what the heck?
Well, at least we get that, right?
Yes,
right.
I'm so happy for that. I'm very happy for that. So what's changing in your world?
Well, I have officially, and this is very vulnerable because it might not work out, but I'm also willing to say it didn't work out. So there's that. Okay. But I have officially applied for a master's degree in counseling.
I am so proud of you. That is so awesome.
I'm so excited about it. And the 4 who listen that know me that are like, wait, oh my God, what does that mean about da, 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 da? Just everybody chill out.
Yeah,
I could quit. I may not get in. You know, lots of things could change. But yeah, that was big because I have half applied to 12 different schools 14 times. And if you ask, what does half applied mean? Oh, it means you fill out the document, but then you don't submit all of the paperwork or, you know, all of it. So anyway, yeah, I applied to 2 different schools, and one of them has a very low acceptance rate, so I may not get in there. The other one has a pretty hard one as well. But I figure I won't know until I apply. So I have officially applied, and I'm going to step forward in that if I get accepted into one of those programs. And that doesn't mean I'm quitting my job. I'm going to do the slow roll like you've done of taking evening classes and online stuff. But I'm excited about it.
That's awesome. I'm really excited for you. And I encourage you to reassure your clients more than you think you need to that you are not quitting your job. I've had so many situations where people have said to me, so like, you're getting out of management. And I'm like, what? Like, it's like, said who? Like, who's getting me out of my job? It's, well, we've heard that you're going to school and you're studying body work. And I'm like, yeah. And like, why is that? Like, why does that mean I'm getting out of my job? You know, heavens to Betsy that I have a hobby in life other than my job. Goodness gracious.
Well, I can't make that promise because I might quit. I wish I could, but who the hell knows? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I mean, I found myself the other day, I was just, it feels like, this is going to sound terrible to anyone that's my client, but I don't mean it in the way it's going to come across. I feel like right now feels like, winter break for me.
Really?
Mainly because my sister is here.
Uh-huh.
she's been staying at my house, like, you know, healing after her surgery. And everything's been going well with her, thank goodness. But it's just like there's more people at my house than normal, which only one more. And so there's a part of me that feels like this is a weird season of like dreaming, because I always like to dream when I'm on vacation or when I just have some time off or whatever. And, you know, the way I even landed on this, I've been thinking about doing it for 18 plus years, as you know. And I literally was talking to my therapist, and I had like another breakdown where I was like, I don't know why it's so hard to like reimagine what else I could do in my life. I don't know if it's age or what all these different things are. And we were talking to sort of this critic in my head, which was kind of my mom's voice in some ways. And this critic, it wasn't even a critic. It was more the manager. We talked about this a little last week. Mm-hmm. But as I was talking to this person, and, you know, she was trying to get me to have a conversation as that person, like, she's like, what other job could you do? And out of my mouth comes, I could manage classes, you know, for a master's degree. And I, like, my eyes were like, oh my God, there's a demon inside of me that needs to be exorcised. And my therapist just had this giant smile on her face and was like nodding profusely, you know? Aww. And I was like, oh my God, I just said that. And I don't know, like, it's just interesting to notice what comes up when, you know, especially fear, you know, like when I'm not 30 when in my 30s, I was like, yeah, I'll go back to school. Like, everything just felt so like doable, and it still does. But I have a lot of layers of excuses on top of that. Not just excuses, but legitimate things like, does my brain still work?
Right, because that stops happening at a certain age for some of us.
I guess so. I'm gonna start having to do those neuroplasticity apps that I see on commercials.
Yeah, and start taking what's the medicine, the Prevagen,
Lunesta. I don't know.
I think that's a sleeping pill.
I might need that too.
Well, I remember I've been taking classes, as you well know, for bodywork stuff. And one of the ladies who is a practitioner of the particular modality that I'm the most interested in, I went over to her house because she said she would let me practice on her. And so we had a really long session, which was great. She let me, you know, figure out where certain points were and helped me figure out where other ones were that I couldn't really feel myself and stuff like that. And when we got done with that part of our session, she was asking me a little bit about kind of my journey. And I said, you know, I really am loving this like whole like body mind acupressure thing and all of that. And I said, if I had more time in my life, I might consider, you know, studying psychotherapy or something like along those lines or whatever. And she just kind of gave me this like strange look. And I said, what? And she goes, why couldn't you do that? She's like, why can't you study your whole life? And I just remember thinking like, well, that's cool. You know, so I'm really proud that like you're taking a step out and doing it, Moose.
Well, we'll see. If I don't get accepted, that's going to be depressing as hell. But don't worry, I will come on here and tell y'all about it.
And you'll probably just apply somewhere else.
Exactly. I did a ton of like research though, to make sure that each program I was applying for really felt like it was something that, you know, supported what it is I want to do, which would be having a private practice. And we would call it Therawana. I just want to keep saying that out loud so no one steals our actual name, because we'll have it recorded. So we'll do Therawana. You'll do body work. I'll do counseling. Sarah will do stretching and massage, because I have a feeling she might end up going that route as well. And we'll all just be a bunch of freaking hippies of chickens out back, you know, the whole thing.
Oh, man, I love it. And Sarah mentioned earlier, you guys having the news on all the time at your house. And it reminded me, and when you just said having chickens and all that, it reminded me of the holler that we talked about last week. And I was on the phone with my mom this week, and she told me about my aunt got some new chickens. And one of the chickens, I guess when chickens are first born, you can't tell if they're male or female chickens. And so you just kind of hope a lot of them are females, because I guess males are pretty, you know, ornery, I guess is a good word for it. Anyway, this particular chicken turned into a rooster. And so my aunt was like, nope, not having a rooster to pick on all my hens. And so my mom said, well, I would rather than you give it away or something like that. She's like, why don't you let me take him and I'll have the rooster at my house and you can have the chickens at your house. And I thought that was sweet of my mom to do that. And she said, Kat, he's really handsome. He's black and white. It's like he's black and white and gray. He's got like this kind of salt and peppery type look or whatever. And I said, oh, are you going to call him Anderson? And she was like, what? And I said, I think you should call him Anderson, like Anderson Cooper. Cause Anderson Cooper's got that white hair.
Oh yeah. He's so good looking.
And we were talking, and I know we talked about this last week too, about how adorable Anderson Cooper is, but, I thought you'd appreciate that my mom has a rooster named Andy now.
Oh, I love that she named it Andy. So, yeah. I mean, they live next to each other. So is that rooster going to sneak over there and try and fool around with those chickens?
Well, I don't think so, because my mom has this giant like aviary, like enclosed in areas. So the rooster can't really get out to my aunt's house.
Gotcha. Well, that's good news. Well, speaking of the holler, Kathy from Australia wrote in.
She did. I really appreciated what she wrote as well.
She said, you three make me laugh. Kat, I was quietly listening to the podcast while folding the laundry and wondering what a holler is. And then you mention it, wondering what a holler is. You are very in tune with me. I love when that happens.
Oh, me too.
In Australia, we pronounce it and spell it hollow for the same geographic feature. Hollow. Interesting. Don't we have a hollow too?
Well, it is a hollow.
Oh, it is the hollow?
It's a hollow, and us folks from the South call it a holler.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. So we
down
have
in the
too.
Hollow. Yeah.
As far as I know, we don't use hollow for the community that lives there too. Thanks so much for the shout out. I'm enjoying the podcast. I've got to run, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to say hi and thanks for the shout out.
That's so
We love
awesome.
you, Kathy.
Thank you for listening, Kathy. We appreciate you so much. And I was thinking also, I don't know that the community of people that live in the holler are also called the holler. I don't know. I don't actually know what those
They're called
people...
the rednecks.
Well, the only reason I can laugh at that is because I'm one of them. So
I'm just teasing.
There you go.
I've never liked that phrase redneck. Like I've always thought it was kind of rude, personally.
Well, yeah, it's super rude.
But some people claim it, so then I don't know what's going on. I just sounded like Forrest Gump. I would like to give a shout out to Jessica, who is one of our new patrons. Thank you so much for becoming a patron, and write in, call in 1-866-528-6665.
Amazing. 1-866-KATMOO5. Guess what is happening 11 days after the beginning of September this year?
Oh, so September 11th?
Mm-hmm.
The 20th anniversary of September 11th.
Yes, and that is of utmost respect and importance. There's something else going on that I want you to know about.
Okay, sorry. I was like, are we going historical here? That's when you're starting your next period.
Wow. Gosh, I don't share about my period on here.
Okay. So that's not the answer. So I'll guess again. That is September 11th. That is the day that the Lord has made.
Let us rejoice and be glad. You're amazing. Absolutely amazing. So
I'm out of guesses.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to help you with it. So on September 11th, which is a Saturday this year, one of my instructors, Steve, who is awesome, is offering a 1-day long class on 5-element theory. And I want you and producer Sarah to take it with me.
On September 11th. Well, we're going to be on a cruise in Alaska.
No, you won't. You get back on the 10th.
Oh, okay. Her sister is in town, but I can probably go with you.
And I think we also have a client in town doing a show as well on that day. So what I proposed to producer Sarah was we could do the class during the day and go to the show that night. Anyway, the whole reason I bring it up is that I too this week wrote in my notes about a season change. And it made me think about 5-element theory because each of the seasons that we pass through has a certain element associated with it. And much like with the Enneagram or the energy flows in the body or the Myers-Briggs test, like there are things, colors, attributes, characteristics associated with each season. And I thought it would be cool for us to learn about it from an ancient Chinese medicine standpoint. So anybody who wants to go to a class with Kat, come with me for one day on September 11th.
Is it in person?
It is.
Okay. Okay. What is the fifth element that does not align with a season?
It's late autumn.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's spring, summer, late summer. There's spring, summer, late summer, autumn, and winter.
Interesting.
Is what I understand. Now, I haven't taken the class, so I could, like, if any of my instructors are listening, they might be just like crying that I just made such a stupid statement. But I think that that's what it is.
I think Kathy is the one that makes you think you have stupid statements.
Yes.
Your professors like you, as do most other people.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. And after this 5-element theory class, I too am moving into a new season, not starting a new period, rather starting a new quarter in school. And I have got a lot of classes this fall, and I have a lot going on travel-wise and work-wise and family-wise. And I'm a little bit like equal parts excited and equal parts anxious, because I too feel like in this season, not that I haven't been working hard, but I had to drop out of this quarter of school because I had to miss too many classes because of work stuff. So I've had a little bit lighter of a schedule on top of my work schedule than I normally do. And I'm a little bit nervous about going in head first again. It makes me nervous and really, really happy.
Well, I have 2 words for you that will help you.
Be still.
No.
And no.
That I am the Lord.
That was 3 words.
No, the 2 words are. Wait, I forgot what they were.
You can do it. No, that's 4.
Oh, no, the 2 words were you first.
You first. Okay.
I mean that because if it's a busy season, I think you need to check in with what it is. I mean, you're going to graduate soon. So, just look at it as a season and be like, okay, let me finish the season. And it's my turn right now to focus on me.
Okay. I'm going to take that. Me first. It feels very biblical. The first shall be last. The last shall be first.
Well, we are very biblical. I don't know if you've caught on yet, but that is who we are.
We definitely are. So while we're talking about biblical stuff, I have absolute factual, empirical evidence that God has taken shrooms.
I have been waiting for someone to say the statement for 42 years. So I am ready to hear about this empirical evidence.
Okay. And I don't know the best way to refer to God. What is socially and politically correct these days to call God a him or a her or a they. So I'm just let's
call them les divine.
Les divine. Okay. Yes. So les divine, I think, has had a really, really long time to invent all the things that exist in the world, right? And so while Les Devine has spent time inventing these things, I think that this divine spirit also is experiencing these things along the way. And why I just can't not say he. And so while he was designing...
No, I won't allow he.
Well, you're going to have to, because there's room for all of us at this table. There is room for all of us.
Okay, then call he, she.
I want to call he.
They?
It sounds like there's more than one of them.
Les?
That sounds French.
Ellos?
That sounds Ayurvedic.
Okay, keep going.
I'll wear you down.
Just so everyone listening knows, when she says he, she means she. Keep going.
When I say he, I'm talking about God. And so I really think that after something I learned about this week, I was like, this is absolute pure evidence that God has taken his own shrooms that he created. Have you ever heard of or seen a creature called the Saddleback Caterpillar?
No, but this thing better have a saddle on its back, because I just pictured the coolest green caterpillar with like a Western saddle on its back for someone to ride.
Okay, could you please right now in this moment Google Saddleback Caterpillar and tell me what you see?
Yeah, I'll share it with our patrons. Does it mean it goes to Saddleback Church in LA?
No, not usually, though they do exist in Mexico as well.
All right. So I've looked it up and this is incredible.
Look at that thing. Just take a look at that thing. This is a caterpillar moose. Okay, like this particular caterpillar is the larva stage of a moth. All right, so this moth lays her eggs on the bottom of a leaf, and the eggs mature, and then they hatch. And yeah, see, you're seeing it right here. Yeah.
Bro.
And so the spiny things on this caterpillar are actually these little like needles, almost like a cactus. And when the needles break, they secrete this venom, like this venom comes out of them, and it is paralyzing to its predators. And the reason I know about this caterpillar is that my aunt, who we were just talking about a little while ago, got stung by not one, but 2 different saddleback caterpillars this week. And my aunt lives in Alabama, so these are like right next door. Okay. And like these caterpillars, they so the mom lays the eggs on the bottom of a leaf, and then the eggs turn into these guys like right here that you're seeing. And then the caterpillar, as it becomes its most mature self in the larva stage, it moves and eats like a slug. So I've got a video from my aunt of it moving like a slug. So it literally crawls like a slug, and it uses its suckers and mucus to move.
God.
Tell me that God was not on shrooms when he invented this one.
Yeah, he was shrooming it out, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, in this picture that you're showing us right now that looks like the face of the caterpillar is actually the butt of the caterpillar. And the caterpillar is designed to look like that to scare oncoming predators from crawling up behind it.
Oh my God, look at that thing.
And then the caterpillar spins its own cocoon, and it uses the little spiny things that you're seeing here as part of the cocoon, so that if a predator were to come and try to eat the cocoon itself would sting the predator. And then finally, after the caterpillar comes out of the cocoon, it comes out metamorphosized. It goes through a metamorphosis, and it's a moth, and it's a really basic looking moth. And the moths only live for 10 days. And guess what they do for 24 hours of one of those 10 days?
What?
They copulate.
What does that mean?
Well,
they have sex?
Yeah, for 24 hours. So don't tell me when people are questioning if psilocybin is something useful for creativity and healing, like don't tell me that's not a thing, because God has proven it to us right here.
Oh my gosh. I have to tell you that as I was looking at graduate programs in counseling, there were so many programs in California and Colorado for people who already have a counseling degree, but want to get specialized in, the psilocybin experience, because there's so much research out there right now that shows that it is extremely healing. But speaking of, by the way, while I was on the search for this degree and saw all those different opportunities, if you're seeking out women or people of color to come join your school and take your programs, maybe don't have a bunch of white men on your website.
Yeah,
like,
really.
That was one huge thing I noticed, is how so many of them had these diversity statements on their website. And yet I was like, maybe put some people of color up on your website.
Right. Or some women at least. I mean, all of it.
Right. Anyway, I am amazed by the Saddleback caterpillar. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So my understanding is that my aunt was doing yard work, and the first caterpillar that she came upon, I guess it stung her. She didn't realize it was there, obviously. And so it stung her, and her entire hand and arm had this big red rash, and it swelled up and it became completely numb. Like she couldn't feel like her whole forearm and her whole hand. And so she ran it under cold water and she tried all this stuff. And then she finally Googled it. And what they said was to do this like baking soda paste or whatever to draw out the venom, which she did. And that ended up helping. And then just a couple of days later, she got stung by another one. I mean,
That's
like,
so
isn't
scary.
that awful? And so she kept them in Ziploc bags. So in case she had to take them to the doctor to say, this is the thing, and this is the venom that stung me. And so we are going to show you guys those videos on our Instagram coming up very soon.
Oh, that is awful. Sorry, Mary Mac. I don't know if you listen, but I'm very sorry that happened.
Yeah, me too.
That was like the time I broke out and passed out, which I've never done except one time, because I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever, which is not too different from Lyme's disease. It's from a tick. And I went to Vanderbilt.
Yes.
One of the top medical facilities in the country. And we had a friend of ours who finally Googled all my symptoms. And then I took myself back to Vanderbilt after they let me out because I wasn't getting better. And literally, that's why people need to say, I like go to the doctor's office sometimes and like on the screens, it'll be like, don't Google your symptoms. And I'm like, bitch, please. You're going to tell me that if there might be another person out there in the world that has the same symptoms as me and I can't figure out what's going on, that I'm not going to do that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it replaces a doctor, but it sure as hell might give me a little more attention than what the ER doctors are going to give me.
Well, exactly. And we've said for a really long time, it's like we have to be advocates for our own health, you know, and I'm going to continue to Google stuff and take it into my doctors because I would love for you to tell me that what I've Googled is wrong. And I would love for you to prove it. Like, that's awesome. Like, I feel like I have more of your attention that way than if it's just like, well, here's my regular checkup. And, you know, the doctor I mentioned a while back on the podcast, my endocrinologist that I just think is so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, she prescribed for me a new insulin pump, and I have gone from what feels like a dot matrix printer to a high functioning laser printer when it comes to insulin pumps. I am now using the Tandem Tslim X2 with Control IQ and Dexcom CGM technology.
Wow, that sounds fancy.
I mean, it is so fancy, and look, it looks like a little iPhone.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's really slim, and the insulin cartridge isn't round, it's actually rectangle, and it's really, really neat, and I'm really excited about getting used to it.
That is so cool. I remember when I first met you, and I thought you just always carried a beeper.
A pager. Special thanks to our producer, Sarah Reed.
To find out more, go to catandmoosepodcast.com. Cat and Moose is a BP production.